Hi everyone, it's Samantha Graff Benmore from the Graff Group, and today we are doing a live on empowering women going through divorce, the rise of them. We want to talk in the positive, obviously. So I am just waiting for our special guest and Dowe to join us. Sorry, I'm just watching. Oh, there she is. Okay, perfect. So now add as a moderator. I think I haven't done this in a little while. Oops, there we go. Okay. I am just waiting for the connection here. Anna, I did send. Oh, look, there you are.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So sorry, technology, eh? Like I haven't done it for a while too, and
You know what? I know, right? We've all been in summer mode as much as we're all working, because that's what we do. But we're also, I can see you have a glow. You have your vacation glow. So,
I'm trying
like,
to.
but with technology, the good thing is that we can be away and we're still working.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I was sitting here, so my apologies because I know that people are waiting and you are waiting, and I don't take that lightly. I've been here, no notification, no nothing that you went live or anything. So apologies for that.
No worries. All good. So, I cannot go through Anna's whole, um, all her, what do we call them, credits? and all her successes and all her stories. Otherwise, we'd be here forever.
Oh,
But I just want to welcome Anna. Anna has been on our show before, but we're going to get a little more narrow on what we're talking about today because many of you know that my husband is a divorce family lawyer, mediator, same thing. I'm going to go through so many titles and credits if I will all spend a lot of time on that too. And I myself, along with Cheryl and Sophie, who works with us as well for the Graff Group, we have been involved in a lot of divorce cases for real estate. And as many of you know, also, it takes a team of professionals to help many go through divorce and to deal with the different parts or shall we say squares, blocks of the journey to get hopefully to the other side.
yeah.
And Anna's role in that is, she does have a history of coaching as being an advocate for women. Doesn't mean that she can't help men, but her more known for her empowerment of women and help them to rise above, and to gain power. So we're going to let Anna speak at this point to say, and share, what are some things that you have come across in your practice and things that you and I will chat about how those come into
Oh, lost you there for a second.
phone. Sorry, I don't know how to turn it off. Did I go off? Did you
Yeah,
not hear
you
what?
did. I just lost your voice for a little bit, but
Oh, okay. So we're gonna talk about some of Anna's experiences with those going through divorce, and then we'll sort of have questions, or we might ask each other questions. As many of you know, this is a very organic coffee talk that we have here, but we're happy to answer any questions we see below, or we'll just ask each other questions and go from there.
awesome. So I just want to add, well, thank you so much for your gracious words here and, on social media. I really appreciate you. I think the one key thing to add here is that I've also gone through that journey, right? Like
Yes.
I've also had a broken marriage 2 times. Funny enough, to the same man. Married the
Not your
same man
typical.
twice, and unfortunately, the marriage broke up twice. So I do have the knowledge of the learned knowledge, but I also have the first account knowledge as well, right? So I think that's important to say here because that what gives me more of a authority to speak on that subject than somebody who has not gone through the journey. So I'm super excited about this. I think it's a very um, it's a hard and heavy subject. However, unfortunately, a lot of us have gone through or are going through or will be going through. And being for women and coming from a place of service, I'm all about empowering and shining light on the things that we might not see as everything is happening, right? So I think it's a good place to start. So where would you like to start?
So why don't we start with, like, I know, having helped a lot of women going through divorce, through the journey with the real estate. There's a lot of situations. For example, let's get a little, I'm going to go narrow here.
Mhm.
Okay. So, let's say the woman is not living in the house and the husband is. And I actually just did one like this, so actually this will be easier to set up the scenario. um, Husband is in the house, living with two kids, like, let's say like 11 and 13ish, and so old enough to be able to understand, old enough to probably have somewhat of an opinion of their own, but also listening to a parent who just so happens to be living with them, and who could be swaying them one way about their mother, and the lack of control over us being able to show that house for this mother to be in a position where her um, ex, or soon to be ex, is controlling the brains of the children. And it was so frustrating for her. It was so hard for her. She had to be the one to leave the home, because of abusive situation. So, what would your advice be in this situation to try to keep her as calm, and I don't want to use the word relax, because how do you use the word
Yeah,
relax in this situation,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it was really hard. And how would you help us as the realtors, maybe, that are listening to this? Because I mean, I know that I've had a fair amount of experience with it, so I feel capable, um, of being able to help manage it on an emotional level. But truthfully speaking, I'm not a coach.
Mhm.
I'm a real estate agent, right? Do I have emotional intelligence? Yes. Do I have experience? Yes. But as somebody who went through it themselves and is a coach, and is an advocate for women and understands the woman's psyche, um, what would you say, and how do you think you could help somebody going through this portion of their divorce?
Yeah, so I just want to kind of like you kind of there's a lot to unpack here, right?
I know.
I just want to start with the second last thing that you've mentioned, and I actually started taking notes not to forget. And you said, how do you, as a real estate agent, or as being somebody who is helping her through the journey, the house and the estate and stuff like that, how do you support? Well, first of all, I feel like this is not your role, right? I know you especially, you are so empathetic and you're such a loving human being that I know it's probably harder for you, right? But being empathetic and giving somebody space to vent or express their emotions is one thing, but you do have to remember that you are not a professional,
Right.
right? And sometimes the issue could be so inflamed that by taking this on, it's not actually serving the other person, right? So I know that you always listen and you give advice and everything, but with that, and you do that, right? Because that's what makes you so beautiful. But with that, point that person in the right direction, point them into the professionals, right? Because we don't really know what's going on right there, and you are also hearing it only from one side, right?
Of
So that
course.
would be my advice to you. And for the woman, this is a tough one, right? Because being a mom myself, the worst nightmare is how my kids see me,
Yeah.
right? So my advice to that woman would be really turn inside, right? And as hard as it is, and I'm going to say something that might trigger a lot of emotions in women, especially when they're going through this, but I wholeheartedly believe in that and have gone through it, saw it as well. Things are happening for a reason, right? And
Hmm.
that marriage is breaking up, there's a reason for it, right? And if that second parent is poisoning the children, this is all going to come out, right?
Right.
I mean, it's those children are very vulnerable right now. They're going through a lot of stuff themselves and they're very prone to other people's opinions. However, maybe not now, but later they're going to see for what it was, right? So time is going to be the key component here. What she can do at this point is again turn in internally,
Hmm.
right? Not be the same way, not be like tit for tat, or
Right.
your ex is talking badly about me to my children, so I'm gonna do the same, right? And it's like putting the children like on a tennis court, back and forth, and the poor kids, they love the parents, they love them both, right? And they want to be, they don't know what's what,
Right.
right? So it's just such a hell for the children when parents actually play them like that, right? So again, going back to that woman, is find it in herself, right, to protect the children from her outbursts about her ex, right? So just give them love, give them support, give them empathy and all the things that those kids need, and kind of, as hard as it is, tune a deaf ear to what the ex might be saying, right? And really, and it really disarms the whole situation because the ex does it for attention, of course, right?
Right.
Like he's hurt or he is whatever, right? And he's doing that just to create a reaction in her. So by her not reacting the way he wants to, it's gonna die down, right? That's just the nature of things, right? So
Hmm.
find it in herself, to look inside, to find that peace, if it's not for her, for the sake of the children, and just believe that everything what's happening is happening for the greater good, and it's all this too shall pass, right? And the
Exactly.
children are gonna see whatever it is that they need to see sooner than later. That would
And
be, yeah.
what's your opinion on, um, you know, there's the other side who's going to be tarnishing sort of the vision in the children's mind of the mother in this case. We'll just stick with like sort of this idea. And um, what's your opinion on, I've heard from different family lawyers when I've heard them talking to clients, and they're like, you know, um, go the extra mile, be that better parent, offer them the time, what's it, it's like hammer them with love, like hammer them with activities, just so that you're the exact opposite of what the other parent is sort of making you look out to be. Now, there's a push pull on this because
Mm-hmm.
if that's not who you are, then you're not being authentic.
Exactly.
And that's an issue for me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am not an actress whatsoever.
Yeah.
I like wear my heart on my sleeve. I cannot fake it. It was one of the first questions my husband asked me when we first started dating. It was like, how good of an actress are you? And I looked at him and I said, can you not tell? Like, I mean, anything you read in the books is probably coming out, all the hints. Like, no. Like, what do you mean acting? And I could be like very literal. But I just wonder sometimes, and I'm not a professional, and some of these family lawyers that I have heard this with, they are actors.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real. They
Yeah.
litigate.
Yeah.
They put on shows and they want their clients to put on shows. And sometimes I I guess I understand what they're saying, but I'm not sure about whether or not being yourself is
Mm-hmm.
the right way. It's like dating,
No.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like anything in life,
why pretend
that
to be somebody that you're
exactly.
not and then attract, like I said, anything in life, attract the client, attract the significant other, attract friends when you're not being yourself?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Like, I mean, truth is the only way, in my opinion, right? And
Yeah,
truth is always going to come out, right? So,
absolutely.
so that's what, going back to that, for example, first example that we're talking about, if she's being authentic, if she is really true, and the ex is really exaggerating or saying the things that aren't true, they're going to come out, right?
Yeah,
So just being authentic and just showering the kids with love, and if she's a good mother, she's going to know what it is that the kids need, right?
right,
And, like, I mean, we're not perfect, right? And I'm sure that if there's a breakup of a relationship, there's always, it's not never a one-sided thing, right? So if there's things that she is to blame for, even sometimes maybe you said that there was some abuse, for allowing the abuse to happen for too long, right?
right.
For not creating enough boundaries. Well, she's guilty of that. She might be. I don't know her story, but she might be guilty of that, right? And what I find with my own children, my own experiences, I'm the first one to apologize to my kids. If I know I've done something wrong, or I've
Mm-hmm.
done something that's not cool, or whatever, like, I'm going to be the first one to say, hey, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, I'm also a human, and kids really resonate with that, right?
Right.
I think we all
Yeah.
do resonate with that, right? Like, if somebody is open and honest and vulnerable, and they're not pretending that they're somebody that they're not, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and I think what you touched on just a minute ago when you were referring to the abuse possibly having gone on for many years, I
Mhm.
think something that the women who have actually found the courage, dug deep, and got out of it should be actually celebrating themselves
100%.
for getting
Yeah.
out of the situation, because the last thing you want your children to see is this is okay
Yeah.
for whether it's a male or a
Mhm.
female. Okay, let's be real, this can go both ways.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
But whoever is in the abusive situation,
Hmm.
um you know we want that person who got themselves out to celebrate themselves, to pat
100.
themselves on the back. Mel Robbins,
Yeah.
I love her, to high
Yeah.
five themselves in the morning, you know, and just really recognize that you actually gave your children a gift.
Yes.
Because the gift is, just to clarify in case anybody is not following my train of thought here, is that, you know, your children have been witnessing
Mhm.
a marriage that really shouldn't be,
Yeah.
a behavior
Mhm.
of disrespect, um, lack of consideration, no love. I mean, if you want your children to learn what love is, and that's what's going on in the
Yep.
house, that's not what you want to teach them.
Yep.
You know, I remember somebody I met a long time ago. She and her husband were best of friends, but they did not parent well.
Mhm.
So because they didn't parent well, they fought like crazy.
Mm.
And she had two boys, and she said to me, like, it was so hard to leave because I really do love him. And when it's just us, it's so great. But I did not want two boys to learn that this is the way you're supposed to treat a woman.
Yeah.
And she said, and quite frankly, I was a monster myself. She said,
Mhm.
I will acknowledge that. You know, it went both ways. Like, because when we fought, it was nasty and
Yeah.
it was a terrible thing for my children. And, you know, she was focusing because two boys, she wanted them to treat a woman as gentlemen and
Mhm.
all that. And the crazy thing is that, you know, both of them have gone their separate ways. They've both remarried and they're like best of friends still.
Mhm.
So the boys have great role models of what love really is in both, like with both their parents and their new partners. Plus they actually see their parents getting along.
Mhm.
I mean, like this is the kind of situation where, you know, they do birthdays together. I don't think they
Mhm.
travel together, but I have seen that. I do
Mhm.
know another couple like that,
Yeah.
like, which is incredible.
Mhm.
But you know, so it's really, you know, as parents, you really are role models
Yes.
to not only your own kids, but to their friends and everything,
Mhm.
you know? Like I just recently heard a story of a single mom, and you know, she obviously lawyer, works a lot, very busy, you know, very involved in charity and everything and awareness. And you know, with a daughter around 11 or 12 years old, let's say. And you know, her and I were talking about, you know, my mother as a role model, who, as all of you know, I've been working with. It'll be 30 years in December. And clearly one of my biggest mentors, and, you know, I say icons of real estate for the Graph Group, but she's like, oh, what's that word I like to use? Oh, a woman of valor. Like, you
Yeah.
know, she's just everything to
Yeah.
me. Okay, I'm gonna cry. Um, but she is that to me, and you know, I think most children look up to their parents. And so, anyways, going back to the story, this woman, when I was telling her how I don't forget at 51, I don't forget that my mother was working all the time and never available to come on like class trips and everybody else's
Mhm.
mother was. She's like, oh goodness, you know, wonder what my daughter thinks, you know. And then she also shared that most recently she was so worried about spending so much time on these charity events and working and everything, but she did overhear her daughter sharing with another friend, because the friend said, your mother's never really around. And she goes, oh, but she's working on big things. She's
Mhm.
making a difference in the world. So I said to her, good for you, because clearly you have shown her that it's not that you don't love her. It's not that you're not spending
Yeah.
time with her, because you clearly are, or she'd have bitter feelings. And
Mhm.
I didn't have bitter feelings. I just wondered why my mom couldn't come on the trip, you know, because
Yeah.
I knew what my mom was doing. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, she was working really hard. And for those of you that don't remember back in the day in real estate, you actually had to physically be present at 2 in the morning, and
Mhm.
you didn't
Wow.
have technology the way we did, so
Mhm.
you had to get signatures on sign backs, back forth
Yeah.
from opposite ends of the city. So it was a whole different world. But point being is that we are all mentors and role models
Mm-hmm.
for the generation coming up. And that's why it's so important, especially with women and our place in the working world.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are now is so much further than, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. I mean, it goes on. So, and that's why I say also, you know, for those of you who are looking for somebody to watch on YouTube or Spotify or wherever I found her, Mel Robbins is a great one to watch because
Yes.
she's very influential and yeah, she's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's so beautiful what you said, and I'm gonna jump in here if I may. I believe this is really relevant to women who are all of a sudden becoming single, right? It's a one household income from then on, right? And a lot of us do have children, right? So becoming that primary parent. Um, and you know, like I'm gonna bring my example here. Before the pandemic, I was traveling very heavily for
great,
about 5 years leading to the pandemic due to my book and speaking engagements and my career. And I was very conflicted with that. Although I did have, you know, their dad most of the time with them, but I
great,
was, as a mom, I was really feeling guilty,
of
right? And I was
course,
wondering if my children were, you know, wondering like you when you were little, right? And I remember taking my older son for a walk. I can't remember how old he was back then, but I don't know, maybe he was 10 or 11, something like that, right? And his dad told me that he was doing something he wasn't supposed to, right? And I do like to think that I have a very good relationship with both of my boys, because I always took the time for the quality of the time, right?
great,
So although I wasn't there, you know, day in and day out, because I was a lot of the times on the road, but when I was home with them, I was home with them. I was really present. There was
great,
no phones, there was no internet, there was, you know, we were going for walks, we were going for bike rides, we were hanging out together, we were talking, we were playing games, right? And that's where I was really connecting with them, right? So I was putting the emphasis on the quality versus the quantity. And that was really helping me. And I remember, you know, having a conversation with my mom, and I was like, Mom, I feel so guilty because, you know, like I'm not here all the time. And my mom says, well, what if you were a doctor? You know, like, I mean, that
mm-hmm,
would be the same thing. Like, there's a lot of women who are doctors and or dentists or, you know, have a very demanding career that they cannot be home with their children, you know, like the next mom, right? And going back to that conversation I had with my son, his dad told me that he was misbehaving at school or something like that or whatever. So I took him for a walk and we started talking about it. And I said, Cyprian, you know, like, I mean, I can quit my whatever I'm doing tomorrow. And, you know, if that's what it takes, I'm going to be home with you and I'm going to be really watching you. Like daddy told me that you did or that or whatever. It's not cool. Right. And if it's because you think that you can get away with this because, you know, I'm not here, that can change. And he looks at me, he's like, Mom, you can't do it. You are helping other people. You know,
mm,
you are changing lives. I'm proud of what you do. I'm going to change because I need to help you to be who you are. And I was like, whoa, you know, and it was such a like, it just melted my heart because
yeah,
that's what you want to hear from your children, right? But then there's this insecurity. But then again, giving somebody, an advice, you don't beat yourself over your situation. You are in the situation for whatever reason, and that's what it is, right? And then now you have to just focus on how you can, yourself and your children, be the best version of themselves, right? And then now you have to just focus on how you can, yourself and your children, be the best version of themselves, right? And then now you have to just focus on how you can, yourself and your children, be the best version of themselves, right? And then now you have to just focus on how you can, get through it as best as you can. And my opinion and my philosophy is to have an open dialogue, open conversation. If they're ready to talk, talk. If they're not ready to talk, respect that as well, right?
Right.
Come from a place of love rather than revenge or anger or whatnot. And then one thing that I forgot to mention before, seek advice, right? If it's a psychotherapist, is it a coach, is it a trusted friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who can hold that space when, you want to break down,
Right.
right? And do it in a safe place. It's okay not to be okay, right? Like
Right.
just because we're single and single moms or whatnot, we're still humans. And it's okay to have a day or two or five that we're not okay. As long as we love ourselves through it, as long as we learn from our mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's okay. It's okay for us to ask for help as well, right? So,
I think you touched upon a very common female in general feeling is guilt. I
mhm,
think women more than men. I don't know if that's a fair comment, but just through my experience in life, I think guilt is something that women feel every day, and especially in relation to. And let's be like really upfront here. I mean, I don't have children, but I'm the child of a mother.
mhm,
So I almost, and because of my level of, I think it's empathy. I think I'm using that word right. I'm able to really feel other people's emotions when
mhm,
people talk to me.
mhm,
I almost take it on to a point where my husband's like, It's ridiculous, Sam. Like, I'm going through this and
mhm,
you're more sensitive to it. You're feeling it more than me.
mhm,
Um, I mean, I have to admit, like, when people, rarely do people get upset with my mom, but if they actually do something to my mother, I feel the pain and I
yeah,
could be more reactive to it, or start strategizing for the plan to,
mhm,
figure out how do we communicate and deal with this because what they did to you is so wrong.
yeah,
Um, but I think your words are quite wise in that you have to give yourself permission to feel your feelings, to not be okay, to seek out that source of, whether it's coach or therapist or friend, to just be
mhm,
real about it,
yeah,
just to feel safe to say, I'm not okay.
mhm,
And you can allow yourself to feel guilty. I'm not going to take that away from you. Those are your feelings. You don't take anyone's feelings away from them. However, um, if we could help anybody through this IG Live to reduce your level of guilt, because just as Anna, you shared the story, and so did my friend when she was talking about her daughter, and you're talking about your son. Clearly, you are both excellent role models and communicators to your children of what you are doing when you're not with them. And as you mentioned, making the time with them
mhm,
valuable and meaningful and memorable. That those are the tools that we can give you to help ease the guilt and bond more so with your children
mhm.
and let them see you in the light that you truly are in, because that is who you want them to see.
100%. And also there's a fine line between sheltering the kids from everything, right? Like, I mean, we as parents want to shelter our kids from all the bad of the world, right? But for them being obviously age appropriate, a
Yeah.
part of the conversation, a part of the decision making, a part of understanding what really is going on, when we as women show up and say, hey, like, I'm not okay today, like,
Hmm.
again, age appropriate, right? Like,
Right.
because I've seen both. I've seen some parents or some moms, a very young child, and they're their therapist, right? Because she
Yeah.
has nobody to talk to, right? And it's so wrong. Or the opposite, keeping the child in the complete darkness about what's going on, right? Like, the child is imagining things, right? Being vulnerable with them and saying, hey, mommy's not having a good day, or, I'm having a rough day today. This is what I need, but I'm going to be okay tomorrow, right? It's
Right.
showing them, teaching them how to handle hard
Real
situations
life.
well. Real life, exactly. So it's there's nothing wrong with, for them to understand what is going on, right? Like, again,
Yeah.
it's being authentic and being truthful about
But
what's going on.
like you said, the age appropriate, and also the one thing that I have seen lots of men and women do is treat their children, let's say they're 40 or 50 years old, as if
Mhm.
they are a 40 or 50-year-old boyfriend or
Yeah,
girlfriend. Like, and
yeah.
that's just not healthy for the
Mhm.
child. Don't
Not
make
at
them
all.
grow up. Do
Hmm.
not make them take on
Yeah.
your issues.
Hmm.
Um, Share, like you said, that you might not be having the best day, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And give them some confidence, at
Hmm.
least, that you are going to be okay, and this is not on them,
Yeah.
because unfortunately there are some people out there going through divorce, and they have made a very young child fast forward in age,
Mhm.
um, to in a way that's just not fair to the child.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was not intentional or anything. Just be aware. They're just
Hmm.
words of caution
Yeah,
to be aware.
absolutely. Absolutely. And unfortunately, we see that
Yeah.
a lot, right? It breaks my heart for those children. It breaks my heart for the parents too, because they're going to have to face those consequences later on in life when that child comes back and say, you did this. Now I'm in therapy because you did this, or now I'm not
Or
having a good relationship because you were poisoning me against my other parent or whatnot,
right.
right? Like, this is always gonna come out, right? So
And they also, if they're too young, they're going to lack the social
yeah.
skills, and the emotional intelligence
Mhm.
that they require, and that they need to learn, and they need to be around people their own age. They're
Yes.
going to miss
Yes.
out on all sorts of experiences, like growth
Hmm.
experience,
Hmm.
like necessary life
Yeah.
skills, because they've just jumped into a different age bracket so
Hmm.
quickly. And then you, as a parent, are also going to wonder,
Yeah.
why is my child like this? Well, you
Mhm.
kind of fast forwarded them.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
They missed out on
yeah.
some learning
Mhm.
experiences that they require.
Yeah.
So,
The one thing that always kind of kept me in line was that, our children are not going to do what we tell them to do. They're going to do as they see,
mm,
right? So it's what you were saying before. Like, I didn't want my children to grow up in a home where they felt in a certain way, right? Like, it was I mean, my ex-husband and I are friends, and we had both times we had a immunicable separation. It was hard both times, and it was hard on him, it was hard on me, it was hard on the children. However, it was I don't know where I was going with that, but it was the children see that their parents may not get along together, right? Even there was never a lack of love or respect. Other factors were coming into play. I actually written about it in my book.
mm-hmm,
But not broken. Mental health issues were coming into play,
right.
right? So very different than for most. However, nevertheless, we couldn't be together as husband and wife. However, the children were always that's where we were meeting. Like, doesn't matter how we are, we come together as parents and as right now as co-parents, and we have to find a way to communicate, right?
Absolutely.
And as hard as it was at times, we found a way. And I know it's not for everybody. It's not, I'm blessed that way, and it's a little bit of my personality too. I'm all about peace and the kumbaya, and like you were describing your friend, it's like, I see us all like having Christmases and birthdays together, like we've
Right.
him with his new partner and me with my new partner, and and still coming together all. And but it's not always possible for everybody, right? And it's
Exactly.
okay, it's okay. I have a friend who is very much like that, and he's done everything he could to have that type of family, but his wife absolutely does not want to allow it. And
Mhm.
it's okay. He needs to walk away, and right now he has a new partner, a new wife, and and it's okay. It's adapting to the situation, not forcing
Yeah.
anything, right? Like things are happening for a reason. Things are happening in a way that they're supposed to, and if two people can't be in the same room, it's okay too, right? Just kind of be the bigger person, always come from, like my mentor always said, is this coming out of love, or is it coming out of fear, right?
Right.
Because if I'm fearful that like he's gonna say something or he's gonna do something, and I'm reacting to that because I'm fearful, is on me. If I'm
Mhm.
coming and reacting out of love, it's always gonna work out,
Right.
right?
Exactly. So that's a great note to end on. Always act from a place of love, and we say kindness
Hmm.
usually,
Hmm.
in consideration of the other person.
Yeah.
So, why don't you just share maybe which one of your books would you say for this specific topic in helping women, or maybe reading about your story a little bit of how you dealt with some of the ups and downs of going through the divorce, would be a good one for people to look into,
Yeah.
ordering. I guess you can order it online, I would
Mhm.
assume.
Yeah, yeah. So after the live, I can send you the link, and you can post it under. I
Okay.
believe for this particular topic, it's actually my best-selling book. The very first one that I wrote is called "Bent Not Broken:
Hmm.
Finding Your Power, Passion, and Purpose."
Perfect.
So it
Love the titles.
Yeah,
Perfect.
thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
It touches upon mental health, addictions, and but the main idea behind the book is to help the support system if somebody is going, like, let's say not let's say my husband suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, right? So this book is a guidebook to somebody who is in their circle, a wife, a brother, a mother, and how to deal with that while we are still, very much affected by their disability or condition.
Excellent. Excellent. So, we thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your personal and professional experiences. And we will put the link at the bottom when you send it over. When I post this, we'll just have it written in the like as a comment or something like that, whatever
Perfect.
works. And we look forward to seeing you soon in
Yes,
person.
100%. Me too.
Sounds great. Have
Thank
an
you for
awesome
having me.
day. Everybody enjoy the rest of your summer. And if you want to reach out to myself or to Anna, by all means, you can do it on here. You can do it on our websites. Just Google us. It's pretty simple. So have an awesome day, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.